For the hip airplane, you can do it assisted or you can do it unassisted. I'll show PVC assisted first, and then I'll show an unassisted variation. This is a great warm-up to move you into hip internal and external rotation in a closed chain way, right? We can work on some of those things in an open chain manner by doing leg swings, but we're going to work on it in a closed chain way, doing these hip airplane variation here. So moving back into a single leg RDL position, you'll have slight bend in the stance leg knee as the hip goes back, which allows for the hip to really move back far enough. You're not limited by your hamstrings here. So slight bend in the knee, hip goes all the way back. And then what you're going to do is you're going to sit in this position and you are going to move this hip down to the floor. But I want you to think about really rotating off of the stance leg hip. So all of the power is coming through the leg that's on the ground here. All right, so move back into that hip in the single leg RDL. I'm going to turn my right hip into my left to the floor. I'll feel a stretch in this left glute. And then I'm going to open, and I'm going to power through this left hip to open my right hip, the one that's in the air, that leg, to the sky. And then I come back in, very slow, controlled, move in, and I open again. I'll show on the right leg as well, slight bend in that stance leg, drive that hip back, and I'm focusing on turning the left hip to the floor, rotating though around that right hip, and then I'm opening this hip up before I come back around and close again. So all of the stretch burn should be in the stance leg glute. Opening that hip up and closing that hip down. You can also do this PVC or without a PVC assist. Be in here, standing, same thing, rotating the hip in and opening that hip out to the sky. Again, all of the power is really coming through. The movement will reflect in the free leg, but all of the power is coming from that stance leg hip. Drive that hip back. Turn the hip in. And then I open the hip up. Coming back around. And all the way up. And that is the hip airplane.